Hello, folks in the Youth Media Zone. I'm excited to be joined here by three wonderful panelists. I'm Mary Kate Costello, Policy Analyst with the Hunger Project, and I'm also with United Nations Interagency Network on Youth Development's Working Group for Youth and Gender Equality. Long mouthful. But I'm happy to also go down the line and let everyone take a quick minute to introduce yourselves in a sentence or two about how you came into your work. And then I'll pry into the depth of the work that you do towards ending hunger.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alpha Senon from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, and I'm the founder of Y Farm. It means We Help Youth Farm. It's a non-profit organization that was set up to create the world future feeders, because we are concerned with who's going to feed us in 20, 25 years' time. So we are directly engaging and entertaining and motivating and inspiring the younger generation so that they take up this challenge of feeding us by the year 2050.
Hi everyone, my name is Carolina Medina. I am a UN Young Leader for the Sustainable Development Goals and a co-founder of Grupa. Grupa is a social business that works in Colombia. We work to optimize the current fruit and vegetable supply chain between the farm and the mom and pop shops in the city. So essentially aggregating their demand via mobile technology so that we can then buy in bulk fruits and vegetables at the farm, bring to the city, and deliver to shops at wholesale prices.
Hi, I'm Kanchana Madhya. I'm from Nepal, and I'm the founder of Sustainable Fish Farming Initiative. Sustainable Fish Farming Initiative is a social enterprise based in Nepal where we provide all the required tools and resources needed for women and young people to bolster their aquaculture products in Nepal and around the South Asian region. And we do it by identifying abandoned ponds and rice paddies that were not being used previously, so mobilizing the already available resources in the community.
Awesome. Welcome, Kanchan, Carolina, and Alpha. So I'm going to actually mix it up. I'm going to start down the end with Kanchan. We were talking earlier about her work, and she was telling me about how in her Sustainable Fish Farming Initiative, they're leveraging available resources such as abandoned farms and ponds and doing capacity assessments for those in the area to be able to make possible these innovative farming techniques, especially around fisheries. So much so that they've seen 150% rise in income. I said, Kanchan, you're kind of a badass. Can you talk a little bit about when we were discussing the rise in global population and why, especially at the local level, you've chosen to take this approach of using these available capacity assessments and resources, and why that has yielded such a high income generation?
Yeah, so the global population is exponentially rising, and we need to by 2015, we have to feed around 9 billion people in the world. So we need to make sure, because the resources, the natural resources that is available today is very limited, but the population is growing. So how do we mobilize the already available resources that we have in our community? So that's how, from our initiative, what we do is we access what are the available resources in the areas such as ponds or rice paddies, and then we mobilize the community around it. And most of our projects are the projects that the farmers want to initiate themselves. So mobilizing the community, making them aware of what resources they already have, as well as advocating around these ideas. For example, in Nepal, most of the lands are not documented, and the public ponds and rice paddies, they are usually not, the farmers, young people are not given the right to access it. So advocating to the local governments about giving the access of lands and resources to young people and to farmers and to local citizens, that is how we are mobilizing the local community in Nepal.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kanchan. That segues perfectly to your comment about farmers are eager to start and do this immediately, but also how are we mobilizing the young people? I'm going to jump over to Alpha a little bit here. We know, especially in agriculture, fishing may be a bit of a different case, but when our youth are thinking about the poor employment rates globally, right now we have a global unemployment rate for youth that's nearly equal to the population of the United States of America. I think it's about 75% of that population amount. So think about that global impact as these youth really get into this much more employable age and continue to increase in number. But when we think about where we need to be placing opportunity for employment, agriculture is the way forward, not just for opportunity, but also because we need to be sustaining our populations. But you mentioned this to youth, and they honestly equate agriculture with poverty. And my question to Alpha is, you've come up with this really unique way to prove to youth that there's something really cool about agriculture. What is that approach that you're using?
So that approach involves some creativity, starting with the thought process of the young people, of the young generation. When we looked at it, we realized that there are a lot of initiatives that have been happening for the past maybe 50 years. And for the past 50 years, we would be asking ourselves, how do we make agriculture cool? How do we make it attractive? Some people would even say, how do we make it sexy for the younger generation? And while we applauded the different things that people have going on, but I think we have really missed on the why it is important to them. Why do they need to take up this challenge? Why do they have to take up this challenge? So we realized, we looked at what are things that young people are interested in, and how do we communicate messages to young people as well, too, very important. No longer could we just write a big textbook and give it to young people and say, hold this, read this, and expect for them to become into agriculture. So we sort of blended it with spoken word, with poetry, with comics, with cartoons, with music, with theater, and to deliver this message, especially when we look at what is the highest form of communication. It's arts. What is the highest form of arts? Music. So initially, when we invented that really cool superhero for agriculture, for food and nutrition security called Agriman, right away we realized that we must have a song to go with it, to be able to reach out to them, to be able to attract them and appeal to them, to make agriculture cool again, right? So we have a Agriman song. You guys can check it out on the website, www.wifearmit.com. And I'll just give you one little verse of it. So it goes like this. Boys and girls, I'm the agri-man. To feed the world is my master plan. If you plant one tree, you can eat for free. This will guarantee us food security. And we realized that if we could get the young people to be singing this, right, singing this positive lyrics that I would say then, it would impact on what it is they want to do, what they want to become when they grow up. Simple actions. For example, don't waste, zero wastage, right? Eat local, eat healthy, plant one tree, eat for free. And it's all within some nursery rhymes. We try to get it into the preschools, starting with the earlier age. But most importantly, however, we also focus highly on entrepreneurship as well too, amongst the teenagers then, right? And we have realized that we have looked at it wrong again. Most people would try to, they have a call for young entrepreneurs to come out to do a training or to do a workshop in agriculture, and they would try to teach them things that they are not passionate about, right? And we at YFAM, we are saying no. If you already have a skill in plumbing, if you already have a skill in woodwork, if you already have a skill in mechanics, we're going to take that skill and make you an entrepreneur for agriculture and towards food and nutrition and security. No need to reinvent the wheel, right? Let's make it spin. So that is exactly what we are doing, and Agriman is the tool to mobilize them, to motivate them, to inspire them. A lot of what we have missed as well is promotion. We tend to keep it amongst ourselves, agriculture people, so to speak, and promote it amongst ourselves. No, we need to break down these borders and get to every single person, because everyone have a responsibility. We have something that we say, rice-sponsibility. So don't waste one grain of rice. And simple as that, that contributes towards food security. So every single person have a role to play in achieving food and nutrition security.
That's awesome. Heck yeah. That's great. So I have one quick follow-up question, then I'm going to go to Carolina. is before when I was talking to you, you had on this really cool, looks like one of those nurses' scrub shirts. And I said, this is unique. I haven't seen this outside of a hospital usually. So what's going on? You seem to be putting some swag back in the ag field, so to speak.
Interesting that you said that, because that is one of our hashtags. We say we put the swag back into agriculture and call it what? Swagriculture. Right? But the uniform that you saw me in earlier, it's basically to represent ourselves in a manner that young people would be fitting to want to get into this sector. Too much of times, you see, when you think agriculture, you think farmer. When you think farmer, you think old clothes, you think burst up, torn pants, old man, straw hats, tired. So we want to give it that rebranding, and rebranding, obviously, it reflects on the look as well. And we also want to tell young people too that, hey, haven't you realized that the farmer, the food producer, is more important than the doctor? Of course he is. If we were to eat healthy, if we were to eat on time, and then we won't really be needing so much of doctors. A lot of the problems in the medical field is related to eating poorly and eat bad choices in your diet and whatnot. So we are saying that the farmer, he's more important, and we need to be proud about that and let the world know this, and not just feel shy or shame about it. No. Yes, maybe a doctor, it might be a greater salary at the moment than a typical farmer, but we want to change that as well and uproot the status quo as well. Yeah.
Cool. So if you're listening in from online and you're tweeting, include swagger culture with your hashtags. All right, Carolina. Putting the swag back in ag is one thing. We're looking at the things that youth find to be attractive, and technology is another one. So mobile phone use. The world is on this steep gradient of mobile phone use. So usually it's only about 10% of a population does not have access or use of a phone. We can, in the developing world, go into a village. There will be no decent running water, but people have a cell phone. The power goes out, generator turns on, you can plug your phone in. So this is the way forward to be communicating with youth and communities. Can you talk a bit about your company, Grupa, and how you've been leveraging mobile technology for people to gain access to healthy and affordable foods that are in need?
Yeah, definitely, Mary Kay. It's very simple. I believe that we have underestimated the power that mobile technology can give us in changing the world around us. Essentially, to give you a couple stats, every single mom and pop shop that we work with has a mobile phone, as you mentioned. They might not have something else, but they do have a mobile phone. And 52% not only have a mobile phone, they have a smartphone. So this is something that really changed the way we were looking at the problem of food security in urban slums. And it got us to wonder how we could leverage this technology to improve access to healthy and affordable produce, right? So the way we are doing it is basically we are aggregating demand for fruits and vegetables. What this means on the day-to-day is our mom and pop shops have different channels that they can use to communicate with us every single night, whatever it is they want to order. So instead of waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, as they usually do, to go to the central market, where they spend around 15 hours per week to buy the produce that they're going to sell on that given day, they text us. They text us with whatever it is they want to order. So if you're a mom and pop shop and you're closing your store and you realize you've run out of potato, instead of waking up at 3 or 4 a.m., you text us that you need a sack of potato. We're committing to the price, and we're committing to delivering between 8 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. so that you can actually have the produce to sell during lunchtime, which is their peak hour. And essentially, in the long term, we're compiling information. Very important information on demand for fruits and vegetables at the base of the pyramid. And this allows us to buy in bulk at the farm, cut down the number of middlemen along the way, which for Colombia is between 4 to 5 middlemen and a 30% markup, and essentially use this markup to distribute between savings passed on to the mom and pop shops and profit for our company, basically, because we are a for-profit. So I think two interesting things here are, let's not underestimate the value of simple mobile technology in changing the way the world works. And number two is, The more sustainable the solutions are, the further the impact can actually get. So I believe in for-profits, I believe in social businesses, and definitely tech social businesses.
Awesome. And I do have a follow-up question for you, and then I also have one for Kanchan too, because I want to do a good loop back to the fisheries. But when we were talking earlier about your work, there was something really unique about it, and that's though she's leveraging mobile technology, the main mode of communication to those people and communities in need for these products are reached mostly by word of mouth. So we have this unique dichotomy within your company where you're using technology, but you're not taking it so far that it becomes unmanageable. You're being realistic about scale. Can you talk a little bit about that inner workings within your company and what that looks like?
Sure.
And why, too?
So the why is the most important part, I think, and it's because you need to make technology or the use of technology relevant to the people that you're working with. If you arrive to a low-income community and you pretend to get everyone to use a very cool app that maybe people in higher income neighborhoods are using, this might not necessarily work. The diffusion isn't the same. The way the community works isn't the same. So make it context relevant is why we decided to treat our acquisition in a person-to-person, on-the-street manner rather than Google ads or Facebook ads or whatever it is, right? This not to say that they don't have Facebook, because they do. All our mom and pop shops have Facebook. It's just not what they would use to find the produce that they need, right? So, so to go back to the technology portion, essentially, what we do is we leverage technology for them to make orders, but we take advantage of what we know about them culturally to actually acquire them as customers. So we have salesmen on the streets that go around every single day, giving our pitch to our mom and pop shops, explaining what we do, giving them the customer service as well. So once they're customers, we actually go back and visit them in person and ask how they're doing. And yeah, it's a very close contact business, but definitely not one that can scale without technology. And that's I think the key point. I don't think we're there yet, but we like to think of ourselves as a potential Amazon Fresh for the base of the pyramid. And the reason why I say this is because Amazon has an amazing platform, online platform. You can order online. But the real value proposition is the time of delivery, right? Amazon says you'll receive whatever it is you ordered in 2 days, and you will receive it. For us, it's the same thing. We need to commit to delivering produce to our mom and pop shops between that given time frame that I just told you about, because if we don't, they won't have produce to sell and they will run out of business, right? So no matter how cool your tech is, if you don't have the logistics right, you won't make it happen. However, without the tech in place, you can have a logistics chain, but it's very difficult to scale. How would you compile demand? How would you make sure that people know what your prices are? How would you also make sure that people understand what the impact it is they're acquiring is? The reason why I say this is because our mom and pop shop app, the one we're actually going to launch in a couple months, will have a little tab where they can keep track of what they've purchased and the savings that they've acquired, both individually and also the total savings. And hopefully, eventually, even equate those savings to improvements that they could have around their shop. So, for example, I don't know, you've saved 2 million pesos by buying from a Grupa, and that's what usually a fridge would cost, so that you can now sell chicken in your store as well. So this is what they dream of. They dream of improving themselves as micro businessmen and women. So yeah, tech is definitely our tool for scaling, not our only strategy to get to our customers, but vital to our whole process.
Excellent. And in talking about the numbers that you bring up and thinking also about what this looks like efficiently at the local level, I want to go back to Kanchan. So behind us we have the SDGs. This is we have a hard deadline for this very important to-do list, the SDGs, and that's 2030. And we also are very aware of the raw reality that we just have not been committed to the amount of money that's needed to achieve these SDGs by 2030 yet. So when we hear about when we hear about initiatives like sustainable fish farming initiatives in Nepal, where you've said, okay, we need to leverage local populations, sweat equity of youth, and think about abandoned fisheries, abandoned farms that are sitting there unused. So there's little investment needed, so you end up with this huge return on investment afterwards. Can you talk a bit about your best advice to local youth now about their ability to take an initiative themselves to take a capacity assessment, to use these resources and build their income generation with their creativity moving forward?
Yes, so I believe that like we young generation are blessed with technology at our hand, like Carolina mentioned. So leveraging that technology, like it is very easy for us to create partnerships, which is one of the very important SDG goals. So partnering with not just local non-governmental organizations, but also like partnering with governments, partnering with projects that are outside your country, and like really taking notes on how other countries are developing and how they're leveraging youth for agricultural projects is one of the things that I would advise young people to do. And also, like, I would like to highlight how important it is for young people right now to be involved in agriculture. The average age of a farmer today is about 60 years old, and if young people are not involved in agriculture now, then in 20 years of time, like we will face a very big food insecurity. And in order for us to like be involved in agriculture, as mentioned before, we should not just look at agriculture as just working in farms and equate it to poverty. For example, especially in Nepal, like more than 500,000 young people migrate to other countries every year in order to look for jobs. And most of these, 90% of these, come from rural villages who are traditional farmers. They are leaving their villages. And why? Because there are not enough opportunities, and there are not good policies that enable these young farmers to stay in their villages and to make a living out of agriculture. So, so just making sure that like agriculture is not just farming, but also you can get involved in agriculture through getting involved in agricultural policies, from being a biochemist to being an investor to like help in the supply chain and the transportation of agricultural products. There are a lot of ways in which young people can get involved in agriculture, and also like leveraging like the already available NGOs and all these all the community. That is what I would suggest young people to do. And also like 193 countries came together to pass the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and I believe that all of these goals are interrelated. We cannot just achieve food security and not think about gender equality or peace or partnerships. So all of these goals hand in hand. So being aware of all these goals and how they can contribute, and partnerships is something that young people should.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kanchan. Before I let everyone take a final chance to wrap up and add any additional thoughts, I wanted to know if there are any questions that might be coming in excuse me, through the Twitter channels or online platforms, comments, questions from any of our organizers they've noticed. Yes.
They want to know what you have building for the future. We know what you're doing now, but what are you looking forward to in the future with your programs and your initiatives, and how do you see what you're doing growing?
So the question was, what next? What is the excitement that these youth that are joining us on the stage here today have around the future? What's happening now that's giving them this encouragement to move forward, and what will be the next excitement in their work?
Yeah,
right down the line.
great question. For me, you could look out for Agriman in cinemas maybe in 5 years' time. Also a cartoon worldwide, on everywhere in the world in different languages.
Why not?
Because it's important, because what does Spider-Man really teach the kids, or Superman? So we want to make that global mark and that global stamp. Also, our next step is creating a Agriman playbook, which is a curriculum for kids for food and nutrition security. While there may be existing curriculums for agriculture or for farming, we have realized the niche that exists, that there isn't any curriculum for food and nutrition security. So my famous quotation as well says that we cannot wait until university to teach the kids about food security. And because when I got to the university, that was the first time I heard the word food security, like seriously. And I have a big problem with that. So I'm saying that kids, 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 7 to 12, they need to know food security. They need to know that it's a burning challenge that they can grow up to solve it and or start tackling it right now. So that is our next step. And of course, with that curriculum, we are planning to have it worldwide again, different ministries, governments around the globe, and using Agriman as that brand. So it's a fun, activity-oriented workbook, right? Highlighting the 6 different characteristics of the Agriman Adventure story. Yeah.
Cool.
So the first thing is bring Agriman to Colombia.
Yes.
I love it. We've talked about translating it into Spanish.
See collaboration right there. That's what we need to be doing.
And in terms of Agrupa, we also have really big plans. The more short-term plans are to increase our portfolio. The more products we have available for mom and pop shops, the more savings we can actually get to them. And I think most importantly, the more products we're buying, the more farmers we're also contributing to, because we're essentially giving them direct access to a city market. So our first plan is to increase our portfolio. Our second plan is to actually implement our own technology. We are developing currently our app for mom and pop shops, which will essentially be an m-commerce platform for them. But most excitingly, it will also be an internal app, which will solve our logistics problems. So I'm really looking forward to that. And in a more medium and longer term, we are planning on growing and scaling our initiative. So hopefully at some point this year, we will open our second warehouse and start developing partnerships, or rather building upon the relationships we're building to take a Grupa to other cities in Colombia, and hopefully by 2018 start going regional as well. So the plan is to grow efficiencies for the supply chain of fruits and vegetables, hopefully everywhere in Latin America, why not the rest of the world, and also translate the same concept of grouping demand to other sectors. So what if we could work with pharmacies? What if we could work with beauty parlors and other micro businesses at the base of the pyramid?
Awesome. Thanks, Carolina.
In terms of sustainable fish farming initiative, we plan to replicate our model to 20 different villages all across Nepal. And hopefully we are trying to see if this model can be replicated in the South Asian region, because we share the same geographical as well as economical challenges in villages. So that is our main motto, and as well as reaching to more than 100,000 local farmers in Nepal in the coming 2 years. And also like advocating, including young people in advocacy of farmers' rights and enabling them to create, enabling governments and other stakeholders to create an environment that young people can get involved in agriculture. And I'm also a part of major group of children and youth, and through the platform too, we are trying to get as many feedback from local farmers, local young people who are agribusiness entrepreneurs, and getting their feedbacks and reporting it to the United Nations so that they can make governments accountable for what they actually need in their countries.
Excellent. So in summation, are there any final things beyond the question from the audience that you'd like to add to remarks for the audience, or any particular words of advice or thoughts?
I have one.
Sure, anyone can jump right in.
Okay, so I guess considering that our audience here and on Facebook is probably a big portion of youth, I want to take this space to invite everyone to look around you, because I feel the problems are there, and it just takes, as Alpha was saying, a little bit of creativity. I don't believe we need to reinvent the wheel either. As you can see, Agrupa is a very simple solution. It's just about like looking beyond what's already being done. So the invitation is, don't wait to have a great idea. Look around for the problem and start wondering how you can contribute to solving it in a more creative manner. And then go out there and try it. Because if you don't try it, you'll never know if it's going to work, right? And this is the time to try it when you're young. You can fail and start again, and that's okay. And while you're failing, you might actually reach a good idea and actually impact and change the way the world works. So yeah, basically, start up.
If you don't try, the answer is always no. So that's great advice.
Yeah, so I would like to tell the young people that food security is one of the biggest challenges that we're facing in the world today, and it is upon us, the young generation, to really take the responsibility of addressing this issue. And this can not just be done, this can be done in very simple manner, just making sure like every day, like by analyzing like what are you eating, where is it coming from, investing more on food produced from local farmers and not wasting food, because what we like the developing countries account for like wastage of food. It accounts to more than what the net produce of the whole sub-Saharan Africa produces. So just being very mindful about the production and consumption of food in everyday life.
Yeah, so I wanted to share a formula that I've been introduced to last year. It's something came up with by Mr. Chick Thompson. He's a creative genius based out of Waggy Labs in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it says curiosity plus connectivity plus courage equates to social innovation. And young people, we need to be curious. That's to go into the formula quickly. We need to be curious about things, right? And with that curiosity, you sort of find what you care about, what's a burning problem for you. And then you connect with people with regards to this curiosity. You build partnerships, you collaborate, and then you be courageous and be brave and go out in the world to affect change. And of course, that equates to social innovation. And to tie into that as well, there's 3 P's that I would like to share as well. Problems, passion, and purpose, right? Many times we need to find what is our passion. And as I tell some of my colleagues that most times your passion is mostly what you have a problem with, right? What you always have a problem about, that is your passion. And then you need now to realize that maybe solving that or attempting to solve it in one way or the other could be your purpose. And lastly, we need to be 1 in 7.3 billion, not 1 in a million, right? We have the ability to create. We have the ability to invent. We have the ability to connect, right? Why try to copycat someone else, right? We have the ability to be one of a kind because we are all created individually, uniquely. So as I always say, find the uniqueness in your idea. And that simple idea, whatever it may be, it could change the world. Yeah, thank you.
I love the 1 in 7.3 billion, because even friends and I will talk about the 1 in a million concept. There's 8 of you alone just in New York City.
Exactly.
So I love the 1 in 7.3 billion. That will conclude our panel for today, unless there are any other additional questions. But I want to thank our panelists, Concha and Carolina. Alpha, your work's incredible. Those at home, continue to do your great work, ask questions, partner. And again, if you're tweeting, hashtag SDG Live, hashtag Youth 2030, hashtag Swagger Culture.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Let's get a picture.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Are there pillows for each of the things, or maybe at least holding number 2 for Zero Hunger? Can we grab number 2? Okay. Why not, right?
project work?
So the name is around here. We work in every single solitary sector in all of the shed approach. And space.
I got Trini saying that.